Believe I was just on mute. Well, great. So I'm going to go ahead and get started while we wait for folks to log in here. So my name is Ben Stanley. I'm a managing director of Generator, which is a equity-based accelerator program. You don't necessarily need to know what that is. All you really need to know is that we operate as a connector between entrepreneurs and various stakeholders within entrepreneurial communities around the Midwest. And we've decided this week, as some context, to offer up some free programming to resources that are both local and national at the federal, state, municipal level, but also in other areas such as mental health and wellness resources like we'll be discussing today, to help you and your employees navigate this ongoing crisis. So it is so unprecedented, and there are a lot of questions and likely a lot of anxiety stemming from these questions. As I said, today we'll be discussing mental health and wellness resources for small business owners. In terms of the webinar, I'll be handing it off to our speaker, Becky, shortly. But you're all very welcome to ask questions throughout the webinar. We have a Q&A feature that you all should have available. You can kind of see the Q&A box on your window. If you click that, you can type questions and we'll try our best to answer them in real time, but we may have to wait till the end as we kind of look for answers. But please do be active on that and we'll do the best that we can to answer them. Any unanswered questions will be sent to the speaker, so Becky, so that she might be able to answer them afterwards once we have a little bit more time. Also, please send emails to me, ben@generator.com, during the webinar with any other questions. Additionally, unfortunately, we've been having a large volume of folks, so if there are some technology issues related to sound or video quality, we probably won't be able to fix them or address them right away, and we're going to have to keep going with the program format. So we appreciate your understanding here. But as some context, we are recording each webinar, and we'll share them on our Emergency Response Program website under our resources page. There's a link here. I'll also be following up with an additional email to this link after our presentation is concluded today. So that being said, I'd like to say welcome to our speaker, Becky Nosbusch from Minnesota Online Counseling. She's a great resource and we're extremely excited to have her here today. She's got a deep background and lots of expertise in many areas that probably are affecting a lot of your employees or you yourselves as you're navigating this crisis. So without further ado, I'll pass it off to you, Becky, if you'd like to share your screen and kick it off with what you got.
Well, thank you, Ben. Yep, my name is Becky Nosbusch, if that's okay. A lot of people get that wrong.
So sorry.
Yep, and I am a master's in social work and a licensed independent clinical social worker in the state of Minnesota. And thank you for having me. I'm glad to be able to share some information with people. I know it's a super stressful time. So, right, I thought what's the best thing to do starting out is to kind of talk about, just get out there what people are feeling stressed about. Like, why is this such a scary time? Why are we doing a webinar on mental health? I think people are feeling stressed about, obviously you are someone you love contracting this COVID-19. It's a scary disease. Keeping you and your employees safe and healthy. A lot of businesses, are considered essential, still going, and so you have to keep everybody safe. And even if you've moved to working at home, there's still things that we want to do to keep everybody safe. That's a huge concern. I think this is kind of slowing down, but for a while there, we were all worried about running out of necessary supplies. And depending on your business, your supply chain may or may not be working like it's supposed to right now. I think, most things are, but there's some medical equipment, obviously masks and things that we just don't have enough of right now. Huge, keeping payroll revenue, keeping your business afloat. Nobody in our lifetimes have experienced this where, we're shelter in place order, we have all these different regulations. And so I don't think the vast majority of small business owners saw this coming or were looking for it. So now we have concerns about, all these expenses we still have to pay regardless. And just to give you a little history about me, I'm a mental health therapist, but I'm also a small business owner. So I'm a sole proprietor, and I um, am an independent contractor with 2 different companies. So I can kind of see, from the small business aspect and from um, the mental health aspect. What information to trust, right? Where are you getting your information? You know, a lot of our businesses promote on Facebook, Instagram, other social media sites, which is great and can be a really helpful thing. But also right now is really full of, not fact-based information, things that are scary and frightening. So just we're stressed about what to trust or even how to know what's going on. How long will this last? I think, most small businesses, depending on how long you've been going, what your situation is, if we knew this was going away May 1st, we wouldn't feel so stressed about it. But we hear conflicting things about when these regulations will be lifted and when we'll be able to go back to sort of what feels like normal for us. Changes in daily schedule and routines. If you have kids at home, they're at home now, and that's a huge change. So you might be trying to work from a different place. You may be, helping the kids during the day, so you're trying to work at night. Lots of different changes in our routines and schedules that feel very stressful. And I think one of the most stressful things for people is trying to remain positive. As a small business owner, not only are you responsible for yourself, but for your clients, for your customers, for everyone involved. And so how do we keep that positive face while we don't feel like it, while we feel so stressed on the inside? And I think I decided I kind of wanted to start with taking care of yourself first. So, it's that old saying, every time you ride a plane, put your oxygen on first. You can't do anything to help those around you, your employees, your family, your customers, the clients. You can't do anything if you're feeling completely stressed and dysregulated. And this is, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So if you had a basic psychology class in high school or college, you would have seen this pyramid. It would have looked different. This one is just a little bit humorous about what we need during quarantine. But the basic structure is kind of the same. Like, we have to take care of ourselves, our health, having toilet paper before we can take care of others. So just kind of want to remind you that that's where it starts, right? Mental health for our employees and our companies starts with us. Self-regulation. So, previously I said we have to regulate ourselves before we can regulate anyone else or help anybody else. We have to put that face mask, oxygen on so we can breathe. And this feels like anxiety to some people. Some people deal with anxiety differently. But when we're regulated, our heartbeat is rhythmic, is slow and steady, and so is our breathing. Your muscles are relaxed. Your schedule is regular, whatever that looks like to you. Your eating is regular, whatever that looks like to you. You're not forgetting to eat, and you're not eating too much or much more than you normally would have. And then your emotions are regulated, right? You can show yourself in a calm and direct way. So if an employee or someone comes to you with a difficult question and they're in a state of upset, like, can we make payroll this week? What's going to happen? I don't know what's going on. You are able to talk about that in a calm and collected manner. And when you're not losing your temper and you're not shutting down. So that's what being regulated looks and feels like. Dysregulated is what a lot of us are experiencing. I'm not exempt from this. Definitely feel stress and anxiety from this. And I feel that irregular heartbeat sometimes. I can feel that in my chest. Oftentimes when you're feeling dysregulated, you have that fight or flight. Like, you want to run, you want to go, you want to do something, you want to make this better. And there's just no way to do that right now. Your heartbeat feels fast, your muscles are tense. You may even experience muscle spasming if you're sleeping like that, all tensed up. Your routine gets all out of whack. You're irritated by every little tiny thing, and you have outbursts of emotions with little or no control. This would be atypical for you, that you're very easily irritated. That's a sign of dysregulation. And so how do we regulate ourselves? Deep breathing. So in the area of neuroscience, we talk about regulating from the bottom up, which means starting with your brain stem. Your brain stem is the part of your brain that regulates all those involuntary things that your body does all the time without you thinking about it. So breathing, your heart rate, all those functions that are happening constantly inside of us are controlled in that brainstem. So when we can regulate our breathing, which is something that we can do voluntarily, we start to regulate all those other emotions too. And we start to regulate, the heartbeat will come down. We'll be able to kind of come back online and think clearly. So that's the first thing I always tell people. And you've seen it 100 times, like someone's having trouble breathing. If you can get that to come down, then they can talk about what's happening. Once you can kind of do that, the three main things that we look at for self-regulation that are, I'm a science person, I like evidence-based practice. So there are lots of things out there that may be helpful for different people. These are the three that I really feel are evidence-based, that have a lot of research behind them, that really can make a difference in how you're able to regulate yourself. So meditation, you may or may not already practice that. Some people look at that as a spiritual thing. It doesn't have to be connected to any religion. It's simply to allow yourself to be mindful and to kind of reset your brain so that you can deal with those bigger things. If you're not ready to take on a full, half an hour meditation or whatever your practice may be, doing a small body scan. And I have links to all these later on. So a body scan is just kind of like a quick check-in with your body. Where are you carrying the tension? Do you feel your jaw is clenched? You may not even know it. Do you feel your chest is tight? Where are we carrying these things in our body? And then positive thinking. There are whole areas of therapy that focus specifically on thought stopping and reframing, and how do we think about positive things in the midst of this crisis and all of this unknown. So, and in the first slide we talked about remaining positive on the outside even when you don't feel it on the inside. And positive thinking just means, finding something to be grateful for no matter what. You can keep a journal. Today I was grateful for my fuzzy socks if you're working from home, or it can be very basic. But in the midst of all this chaos, there's always something, whether it is you had a meal with your family or you had a meal period, always something to be thankful for, and just taking a minute to think about that and practice gratitude. These are the links that, and this will be recorded and it can be sent out to you as well. Trauma-informed yoga, the one that I picked specifically, is one that anybody can do, whether you have had 20 years of history doing yoga or whether you are brand new. This is very easy, all levels can be modified. I think this video specifically is very good. There's a link to a quick body scan, and then there's a link to a tutorial on deep breathing, which I think is where you start. If you're trying to learn how to regulate yourself better, you start with the deep breathing. Also wanted to touch on regulation and control. What can I control? What can I not control? So many things we can't control right now. We can't control what our leaders in the government are going to do. We can't control how fast tests or vaccines are being made. We can't control any of that stuff. We can control, like I talked about, where are we getting our news? Where are we getting our information? How much time are we spending on social media? Where are we directing our energy? So the little infographic kind of says, all these areas in different places, right? Our energy is going out to help people and to keep ourselves on track and to pay our own bills and to make sure the businesses keep going, to keep up with all these different, programs, rules, regulations that are coming out daily. So where, finding a focus for your energy, you can control that. How I speak to and treat other people, I've noticed on social media and in my own life, people are very short. They don't have a lot of time or patience. If you have disagreement about something, people are just very snappy. We can control how we speak to others, right? We can't obviously control how they react, but that is something we have control over. How we self-soothe, I've seen tons of things about, people are choosing to use alcohol more. People are choosing to do kind of these unhealthy coping skills, sleeping all day, shutting down. Some of that is normal. If it becomes a problem, then we have to look at how we're choosing to self-soothe. You can make decisions, right? Decisions are a way that our brain kind of is able to control little things, right? So what we're gonna have for supper, are we to these huge decisions that we're making, are we gonna be able to continue to be in business? Are we gonna be able to continue to practice even our normal religious beliefs, are all these things. So we can make decisions big and little. Things you can't control, how other people behave. We can't control the government, we can't control the toilet paper hoarding, we can't control all these different things in our world, and that makes it feel very scary and uncertain. We can't control other people's decisions. One of the hardest things in life is when other people are making decisions that affect you and you have no control over them. So letting go of the things that we can't control and holding on to the ones that we can are really important in keeping ourselves regulated and our mental health on track. Okay, so we're gonna kind of switch gears and talk about how do we help our employees? How do we help our businesses? So once we have ourselves regulated, we need to look at what can we do. And I know all of you have different situations. Some of you have, maybe 2 employees, some have 50. So everyone has a different situation, but I think these things can be helpful in all of them. Be honest. I think one of the main things that I've learned over the years, and working for different agencies and organizations, is employees really respect you when you're honest, right? If you're withholding information, if you're making things appear better than they are or worse than they are, people start to, people are smart and they understand that, and then they start losing trust in you. You can give them access to mental health professionals, I think, is the main thing. This is the main thing you can do to help employees, to help anybody who is struggling. It can be within your business or within your family. So different ideas for doing that. So do you have HSA funds through yourself or your spouse? Those can be used for therapy. Almost all therapists right now are offering telehealth. So that's, just like this, you don't have to go anywhere. You can wear your sweatpants, and you can talk to a mental health professional that way. Almost everyone I know right now is offering reduced fees or sliding scale fees. So we want, as a community of mental health professionals, we want to make sure that you guys are taken care of too. It wouldn't be ethical for us to not participate in helping people during this crisis in any way we can, right? So if you or someone you know wants therapy but cost is an issue, find a therapist that you think you can connect with and ask them. I know I've had people come and we've been able to say, your insurance, or you don't have any, it doesn't cover this. What can we do? What's affordable for you? And we'll go from there. Some people may have an EAP or a spouse's EAP that those are very underutilized. You get like 5 usually free sessions. So look at that. If there's been a change in insurance, your employees can't afford it anymore, what I'm going to talk about is using Bridges to Benefits, which is a site to see if they qualify for state help. Bridges to Benefits in Minnesota, this is the email or the web address. This website is amazing. You can plug in, and you don't have to you can just run the numbers and see what you qualify for without actually applying for it. You don't have to give them, you can be anonymous while you're doing that. And then if it says you qualify for something, you can go back and actually fill out the application. So the main areas that they can help with right now are emergency modifications to public programs. So if you have people that, I'm just going to use food stamps for instance, maybe didn't qualify before, but all of a sudden we've had the loss of income, or the kids are home all day, every day, and there's just not enough food to go around. There are some emergency programs in place that you can see if you qualify for. Financial resources. So those are, the county-run programs to offer financial help to families. Childcare, it's a huge issue right now. So if you are an essential employee and need help finding childcare, there are resources here. Healthcare, again, lost insurance, underinsurance, can't afford insurance. You can put your current income in this website and it will tell you what you qualify for. And nutrition, so again, the food stamps, WIC, things like that. And some of the thresholds for these things have been upped. So people that possibly wouldn't have qualified before might during this emergency.
Hi, Becky. So we have a question. I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind answering it before we move on.
Go for it.
Sure. So this is from an attendee. I'll just read it aloud. Becky, can you talk about why the deep breathing practice is so valuable, i.e. in regard to the vagus nerve and the flight, fright, freeze response?
Right. So we touched a little bit about that. When we regulate our breathing, it helps us to regulate all those other involuntary responses. So your heartbeat, those things have to come online. Sort of when we talk about the vagus nerve, is a huge nerve that runs a lot of the systems in your body. It runs, a lot of those involuntary things and connects to your brainstem. So when you focus on your breathing and when you can get that under control, all those other things kind of come online. And you're able to get your heart rate down, you're able to think more clearly, you're able to make decisions better, and you're able to speak better. Honestly, we've all had those times when, we're upset, but we don't know why. And starting with the deep breathing, when you get all of these involuntary systems regulated, our voluntary systems come back online. So you can, talk about your feelings more clearly, maybe even understand within yourself what's going on. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I put some resources up if therapy is not an option. Some people have an aversion to mental health therapy. There's a stigma around it. Some people are afraid to reach out for whatever reason. I don't have a judgment about that. But I just wanted to give some other resources about, things that can be used, that can be supplemental to talking with a mental health professional or can be used on their own. The National Alliance for Mental Illness has a huge, well, at the end, I'll talk about, they have a 22-page resource guide for specifically for dealing with COVID. It's fantastic, very comprehensive resource guide. But they also host online community and discussions. So if you have someone, maybe they're not ready to talk to a mental health professional, maybe you want to talk to, you know, community, which means someone similar, doing things similar to you, I would encourage you to check out their online groups. It's free. It can be confidential. You know, you can put as much or as little of your real name in as you want. And you can talk openly with others who are going through similar things. 7 cups of tea. So this is an online site where people can come and say, you know, I need help, and there's kind of a peer counseling system that happens. So the free version of it is just, you can chat back and forth with you know, someone who is also registered to be a peer counselor, and they're like, yep, I've gone through divorce, I've gone through the loss of business, I've gone through bankruptcy, I can help others with that. And so you're talking to, for the most part, a peer. You can also pay to talk to a licensed mental health professional. So that's a good resource. You know, I would encourage people to use it if they want, but also just know when you're talking to a peer support person that they're not a licensed mental health professional, and that's you know, kind of a different thing. Not bad, but just know that you're talking to a peer that hasn't necessarily had that training. Emotions Anonymous. So this is a group that focuses on, you know, it's kind of a playoff of Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. So Emotions Anonymous, so you're having trouble regulating your emotions. It's a peer-led group. They meet once a week online. I have not checked that out too much, other than to look at it and to know that other people have referred people there. You know, if you have someone who's struggling with emotions and regulation, and they want, you know, a very anonymous setting, that would be a good one. Support Group Central, they have many support groups with different niches. So if you're struggling with, you know, again, divorce, or you're struggling with the kids being home from school all of a sudden, or you have an employee who is struggling with, you know, being home all the time, or anything like that, they have tons of different free groups that you can join. Again, it's fairly anonymous. And then the Tribe Wellness. So this has support from the National Alliance of Mental Illness. It's set up by licensed mental health professionals. They cover all kinds of different things, as you can see: addiction, anxiety, all kinds of things. Also have a teen section. So I know a lot of people are struggling with their teens being home, and they have a teen group that meets, and I think it's a really good resource. Do we have another question?
Yeah, I was just about to bump in. So this one's from Jeannie, who's on. Her question is, are you or someone you know compiling a list of local healthcare providers offering telemedicine? So I think the list you walked through is a good starting point. But are there any other lists out there that you're aware of, or that you can push people to?
Absolutely. We are, as a Minnesota group of mental health providers, compiling a list of who's doing kind of what in this crisis, and I can definitely send out what we have of that. You know, it's not complete or comprehensive yet, but we're working on it.
Excellent, that'd be great, and we can share that as well once you've got the link.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, we had a clarifying question. It says, where can a business, or can businesses submit their listing to those, to that list? I'm assuming that she can offer some telemedicine help. So
Yeah,
if you featured on that list, should she just reach out to you directly?
yeah, that would work. The list that I know about originated through the Facebook group. Minnesota, no, Minnesota Online Therapist. Yes. So that's where it started. And there's someone that is working on compiling that, and people have just been sending it through there. If you get it to me, I can certainly send it to her as well.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Something else I want to talk about when we talk about mental health during a crisis for yourself or for your employees, families, or clients. I think it's good to know the basic signs of depression. We as a country see a fairly high rate of suicide the way it is, and I would imagine that this crisis is gonna add to that because financial difficulties and loss of life, right? If we have someone who loses someone who's very close to them, they can start to feel depressed themselves and maybe a little suicidal. So I think knowing the signs of depression is an excellent thing to kind of brief yourself on. And if you see someone who, or you hear someone make a comment about being suicidal, these are some resources I wanted to put out there. Text for Life Minnesota, amazing service, 24/7 availability. You text MN to that number. You can tell them as much or as little about yourself as you want, but they will talk you through what you're going through at that time. Of course, if someone's actively suicidal, you want to help them get to the ER, but the text-based service is great for especially teens, but anybody who needs someone to reach out to and doesn't feel comfortable telling their family or friends or boss that they're feeling suicidal. And then the National Suicide Prevention Line, which is, of course, a voice line that you can talk to. Again, they obviously see your number when you call, but it's fairly anonymous as well. So I just want to put that out there because I think, depending on what your business does, you may or may not, be aware that your employees, clients might be depressed. And I thought it was important to kind of put those resources out there in case you would ever need them. So this is the 22-page guide. Huge guide of resources for people going through this crisis, not only those with mental health issues, but those who may just be feeling situational anxiety because of all of this. So I really recommend if you're looking for more resources specific to what you're going through, because this was very, kind of broad in general. Please check this out. It's a very good guide. This is a listing of, I kind of went through some other webinars when I was trying to put this together to look at, what are people interested in? What are they learning about? And these are 3 that I found that I thought were really worth passing on. So the first one is, it's mental health in the pandemic. It's one that you can watch anytime, I believe. And I thought it was very relevant information. I think, some of the things that I talked about, but also expansion on those because of the time. And then the Smithsonian Institute has a workshop for meditation and mindfulness. If this is something that you want to learn more about or want to start to practice, or just even learn a bit more about the science behind why it works, I would really encourage this. These are live, and so they're free to register for, and they're offered various times throughout the week, so it's not like you have to be available right then, but they are live. And then Yale is offering emotional intelligence webinar, and I believe that one's recorded as well. Kind of watch it whenever. And so I would say especially if you work with kids or teens or have them in your home, this would be a really good one. Place to start to help you identify emotional intelligence. How do you work on that? how do we use it to combat this anxiety that we're feeling? And then that is all I have. And I put up me and my email. I have two practices that I work for: Minnesota Online Counseling and Champion State of Mind. So Minnesota and Iowa. So if you have any questions or you want more information, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Becky. So we have a few minutes left here. If anyone has any questions, we'll stay on for a few minutes here if you'd like. If not, and we're wrapping it up here, Becky, if you wouldn't mind, because there are some links shared on the slides, sharing that, and we can push it out to the rest of the group.
Yeah, I will send that to you for sure.
Perfect. Sounds great. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we can end it there and wrap it up. If anyone does think of any, please feel free to reach out to Becky directly, or email obviously on that slide, or myself, ben@generator.com. One last point, I know we've been sending out emails post every webinar. We'll probably send one out this afternoon as well. Reminder that these webinars are being recorded. They're on the resources page. The link will be sent. Please also take advantage of the one-on-one office hours that we're setting up with Generator staff. It's a great opportunity just to spill about what's going on, and hopefully we can be helpful in terms of helping you navigate these various resources. We've set aside all this time to meet with you, so please don't feel like it's a bother, and we really love to meet with you. So take advantage of that resource if you can, and we'll see you all tomorrow on the next webinar about employment law.